algorithm. Now remember, in this lecture, the patients are not in cardiac arrest. Yeah. So now what you have to do is to figure out what the rhythm is, how to treat the rhythm, how to correct the rhythm, and how to think of an underlying cause. The underlying cause will generally be one of the 5 H's or 5 T's. Okay. And I've told you tachycardia is more than 100. Yes. And then we're going to see how the tachycardia algorithm works. Okay. Chalo, next slide. Are you ready? Okay. Am I okay? Slide is okay? Yes. So we are going to cover the types of tachyarrhythmias. Remember, the management is patient based, not rhythm based. So you have to not only think about what the rhythm is, you have also got to think about the patient's status. Then treatment is either electrical, in which we use the defibrillator. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about using the defibrillator in a non-cardiac arrest situation. Yeah, so you have to remember that, because remember, some of the scenarios that I'm going to deal with are not cardiac arrest. They are before cardiac arrest. And we are going to look at the medications which come up. So they are defined based on the appearance of the QRS complex, broad or narrow. Broad means more than 3 big squares, more than 3 small squares. Okay, on the ECG, 3 small squares is 0.12 seconds. Each small square is 0.04 seconds. So 0.04, 0.04, 0.04. So 3 small squares is 0.12 seconds. So if it is more than 0.12 seconds, then it is broad. If it is less than 0.12 seconds, it's called narrow. And this applies to the QRS complex. Then you're going to check if the P wave is present or not. Then you're going to look at the rate. Is the rate more than 100? Is it more than 150? Is it more than 200? Is it regular or is it irregular? Regular means it comes at fixed intervals. If it is irregular, one comes here, and then another one comes quickly. Okay, so if it comes regular, then the interval is constant. If it is irregular, then sometimes the interval will be big, sometimes the interval will be small. Now the classification. So first is sinus tachycardia. Can you open your books? There is a chapter on tachycardia. So all this is there. So please don't write. Everything is there in the book. We have based the PowerPoint on the book only. So sinus tachycardia is narrow, regular rate, usually rate is less than 150 and P waves are present. The next one is narrow complex tachycardia. So narrow complex tachycardia means it's narrow and the rate is usually between 150 and 250. P wave may or may not be present, usually P wave is absent. If it is regular, intervals are constant, then it is atrial tachycardia, or it is termed as a supraventricular tachycardia. If it is irregular, then it is called atrial fibrillation. Yeah, so atrial fibrillation, the rate is irregular, interval is not fixed. Now these are all narrow complex tachycardias. Then you have what is called wide complex or broad QRS tachycardias. So wide complex, more than 0.12 seconds, we have ventricular tachycardia. Now this is ventricular tachycardia with a pulse, not the pulseless VT we saw before. So here there is a pulse present. If all the complexes look the same, then it is called monomorphic. Morphic means shape. So if all of them look the same, it is called mono, that means single shape. If it is polymorphic, means the shape keeps changing. That is called torsade. Yeah, torsade de points, that is polymorphic. And then you have ventricular fibrillation. Ventricular fibrillation, we are not going to discuss now. Ventricular fibrillation is a cardiac arrest rhythm. There you have to give compressions. And then of course shocks. Occasionally, supraventricular tachycardia may have a broad complex, in which case it is called supraventricular tachycardia with aberrant conduction. How will you know that? If you have a previous ECG in which the QRS was broad, there was a bundle branch block, and then he gets a abnormal rhythm on top of that, supraventricular tachycardia. So it will look broad, but it is not actually a wide complex. Okay. Okay, so now this is the algorithm. I'm just going to read it out quickly and you all can look at it in your book. So everybody please keep your books open at this page, because you won't be able to see it on the chart. So assess the appropriateness for clinical condition. Heart rate will typically be more than 150 per minute. Then identify and treat the underlying causes as per 5 H's and 5 T's. Maintain a patent airway, assist the breathing, give oxygen if the saturation is less than 94%. put the cardiac monitor on, monitor the blood pressure, and to put on the pulse ox. If there is a persistent tachyarrhythmia causing these things, so these are called stable or unstable. So unstable, is there hypotension, acutely altered mental status, is there shock, is there ischemic chest discomfort, is there acute heart failure? If it is yes, if there are signs of instability, then you have to give a shock, cardioversion. We are going to discuss this as we go along. If it is not causing any of this, is the QRS wide, is it more than 0.12 seconds, then you can give adenosine as a test, yeah, to distinguish between monomorphic ventricular tachycardia and SVT with aberrant conduction. If it is SVT, it will respond to adenosine. If it does not respond to adenosine, then it is likely that this is a ventricular tachycardia. Then you have to treat it according to ventricular tachycardia. We are going to see that as we go along. Then, if it is still no, then you get IV access, put a 12-lead ECG on. So it's a narrow complex tachycardia. If it is regular, you can give adenosine. If it is irregular, it is atrial fibrillation, and then you have to treat it accordingly. Okay, so you can see here the doses are written for the antiarrhythmic drugs, and it is written how a synchronized cardioversion, what are the doses. So you can see for a narrow regular rhythm, you can give a 50 to 100 joule shock, narrow irregular 120 to 200. Generally, if it is irregular, atrial fibrillation, we don't shock. For that, you have to anticoagulate first, because if there's an irregular rhythm, clots can form in the heart, and you give a shock, the clot gets dislodged and goes to the brain. So for atrial fibrillation, we don't give a shock. Then dose of adenosine is given, 6 milligrams IV push, second dose 12 milligrams if required. So it has to be a really fast push. So you give it into the peripheral vein and elevate the hand, adenosine, and it acts immediately. Yeah. In some people it may cause bronchospasm, but it's not a common side effect. So adenosine is quite safe. So adenosine is to be given in all regular narrow complex tachycardias, and even in the ones with wide complex who are stable, don't have unstable features. Adenosine can be used as a test to distinguish between supraventricular and ventricular tachycardia. Okay. Then we have the dose. We don't have procainamide, so I'm going to tell you about that. We have amiodarone. So in amiodarone in treatment of ventricular tachycardia or supraventricular tachycardia, the dose is different. In cardiac arrest, what was the dose? 300. Here you are going to give 150 milligrams over 10 minutes. Yeah. So over 10 minutes का तिथे उभं राहून राहायचं का 10 मिनिटं नाही. Prepare it on the syringe pump. Set it for 10 minutes. Yeah, and give 150 mg over 10 minutes. You can repeat another 150 mg over another 10 minutes. Okay, so give 300 mg over 20 minutes. And then after that you have to give a drip. So drip is usually 600 to 900 milligrams over 24 hours. Okay. So what are the initial evaluation treatment? To summarize, tachycardia is more than 100, rate of 150, likely to be clinically significant. Identify hypoxemia, provide supplementary oxygen, attach a monitor, establish IV access, anticubital when you need, identify potentially reversible causes, 5 H's and 5 T's. Is the patient stable or unstable? I'm going to show you instability in the next slide. Get a 12-lead ECG. So here it is important to get a 12-lead ECG. In cardiac arrest, don't have time, so you can't get an ECG done. Unstable patient, you may not have time to get an ECG. Then you synchronize cardiovert or give the drug and then take an ECG. Record the monitor. Usually the monitor allows you to record events. There's a record button on that. So you can press the record button, it will record it on the screen. Then you can take a printout later on if you want. Do not delay cardioversion if the patient is unstable. Chalo, you have understood? Shall we revise the unstable criteria once? Blood pressure less than 90, so hypotension. Yes? Breathlessness, saturation less than 90. Chest discomfort, altered mental status. Yeah? So these are all signs of instability. So if you see any of these in the case scenarios, I'm going to ask you, unstable patient, cardiovert. Stable patient, assess further, get a 12-lead ECG. Think of what the cause could be. And then, if it is appropriate, give a synchronized cardioversion. If it is not appropriate, use a drug. Okay? Okay. So, look at this case scenario, 28-year-old male presenting to the ED with complaint of palpitation. His only significant past history is of bronchial asthma, well controlled with inhalers. He looks anxious, he is sweating, has a heart rate of 192 per minute. BP is 109/70. Please remember, all the inhalers are beta stimulants. Salbutamol, salmeterol. Yeah. So all these beta stimulants, they cause tachycardia. So many patients with bronchial asthma, if they are very breathless, they take 10, 12 inhalers together and then they'll come with tachycardia. But usually it is sinus tachycardia. So now I want you to look at this ECG and identify this rhythm, and you're also going to look at whether the patient is stable or unstable. Okay. So if I look at the rhythm, I can see that there are no P waves. I'm not able to see any clear P waves. I can see that the heart rate here, you can see that this is one big square. This is two big squares. So two big squares is the interval between two QRS complexes. So to calculate the heart rate, what do? 300 I take in the numerator and I divide it by the number of big squares, 2. So 300 upon 2. So the rate is 150. Actually, if you see now, it is slightly less than 2 squares. So heart rate is actually slightly more than 150, maybe 160, 170. Okay. So I've got a heart rate of 170, 160, 170. I've got no P waves. Is the QRS narrow or broad? It's narrow, because the QRS width is less than 0.12 seconds. So this is a narrow complex tachycardia. Is it regular? If I look at the intervals between the R waves, it is regular. So this is a regular narrow complex tachycardia. Is the patient stable or unstable? Patient looks stable. 190, heart rate is 170. He looks anxious, he's sweating, but he looks otherwise stable. So this is a stable patient. So what is the treatment here? So signs of instability to revise for you, So there are none of these signs here. Is that okay? No hypotension, no acute altered sensorium, no signs of shock, no acute heart failure, no chest discomfort. That's the diagnosis of the rhythm. Tachycardia, narrow complex, less than 0.12 QRS duration, regular and without a P wave. So what is the most important step in treatment here? So I have marked it for you. The most important step here is a vagal maneuver. You could of course consider adenosine also. Adenosine sometimes contraindicated in asthma because it may cause bronchospasm. So therefore try a vagal maneuver first. If it settles, very good. If not, then you can give adenosine. Not a problem. If the patient is very stable, you can even give diltiazem. Okay, diltiazem is a calcium channel blocker. It's there on the crash cart. Okay, and the dose is 0.25 milligrams per kilogram. So first step is vagal maneuver. Second step, you may try adenosine, but remember in bronchial asthma, especially if he's got allergies, then adenosine is a risk. Then you can give diltiazem. And last of all, metoprolol. Metoprolol is a beta blocker. So beta blockers may precipitate bronchospasm. So you don't want to give a beta blocker in this setting. Is that okay? Okay. So you can see here, we went through this algorithm and we came down to the treatment which said IV access, 12 lead ECG if available, vagal maneuver, adenosine if it is regular and if there is no contraindication, beta blocker or calcium channel blocker. Here we've chosen calcium channel blocker, diltiazem. And consider an expert consultation. You can call the cardiologist, send him the ECG on the phone, get the cardiac resistant in. So I always say that take help. Yes? JR2, JR1. Okay, next case. 76-year-old woman with past history of congestive heart failure and underlying ischemic cardiomyopathy presenting to the ED with acute worsening of dyspnea. Right at the beginning there is a sign of instability. Heart failure ho gaya usko. Heart rate is 134 per minute, irregular. Blood pressure is 104/60, bibasilar crackles and elevated JVP, and an ECG is obtained. Okay, so let's look at the ECG. Before we look at the ECG, is this patient stable or unstable? Unstable. Okay, let's look at the ECG. Here you have the ECG. Now it's a 12 lead ECG. So I'm going to describe the 12 lead ECG to you so that you have an idea as to how it looks. So you can see on top here, lead 1. Lead 1 usually has an upright QRS complex. As soon as I begin to look at the ECG now, I am also nazar baste tashi. So you are able to identify. I am not able to see any P waves here. Then lead 2. Again, I can't see any P waves and I am seeing that it is a little irregular. Yeah. So interval between these two is less. Interval here is a little more. Lead 3. Then AVR. So AVR is down going. If the AVR is upgoing, it usually means that your leads are exchanged. Okay. Then AVL and AVF. Okay, so nothing khas in AVL, AVF. Let me look at V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. So V1, there's only a small R wave, deep S wave. It seems to be irregular. Deep R wave, deep S wave in V2 also, in V3 also, in V4 also. So V1 to V4, I'm not getting good R waves. Usually by V3, V4, I get a big, nice R wave. So this means that there is poor progression of R waves. Then in V5, V6, here I'm finding that there are Q. So there are pathological Q waves in V5 and V6, and there is some amount of ST elevation and ST T wave inversion in V6. So I'm thinking that this person may be having some ischemia, but that's not why I have put it up. I have put it up because the person has developed an irregular rhythm. So if you look at the history again, 76-year-old, underlying ischemic cardiomyopathy. So maybe an old anterior wall myocardial infarction and has now presented with atrial fibrillation. Why am I saying atrial fibrillation? There is tachycardia, the QRS complex is narrow, it is irregular, and there are no P waves. Is that okay? So differential diagnosis of narrow complex irregularly irregular tachycardia, there are three possible causes. First is multifocal atrial tachycardia, but in multifocal atrial tachycardia you can usually see P waves. Can you see these P waves? The PR interval is varying all the time, and the P waves also are changing configuration. Sometimes they are small, sometimes they are large. That is multifocal atrial tachycardia. The second one is typical atrial fibrillation. Here the rate is controlled, rate is not very high. And in the third, you have atrial flutter with variable conduction. So you are seeing P waves or sawtooth like waves, and at the same time it is irregular. Okay, so more about rhythm diagnosis when we have one of the classes. So what is the most appropriate treatment here? Now please remember, in an irregular rhythm, what can happen inside the heart? Clot. Yeah, if you give a shock, what will happen? Clot will go to the brain or to the legs and will cause stroke. So you don't want to do that. So no cardioversion. Even though the patient is unstable, in atrial fibrillation you don't do cardioversion. So here the appropriate drug could be any of these. Yeah, adenosine won't work. Verapamil is a calcium channel blocker, not given because it causes cardiac, it reduces the cardiac contractility. Lignocaine is a drug used for ventricular tachycardias, not for atrial tachycardias. Because the patient is in heart failure, you could consider digoxin. You could consider giving heparin because you want to prevent that clot from going anywhere. And you could use amiodarone, 150 milligrams over 10 minutes. Now the risk in giving amiodarone, so residents, the risk in giving amiodarone is that it may cause conversion to sinus rhythm. It's called pharmacological cardioversion. So before you give amiodarone, you should give the heparin 5000 units IV. Is that okay? Okay, so here you've got this algorithm again, and now what has happened? You had to branch off here because patient had acute heart failure, had history of ischemia, so she's unstable. But in atrial fibrillation, no cardioversion. So the drugs are digoxin or amiodarone accompanied by heparin. Case 3. Okay, 71-year-old male presents to the emergency department, ongoing chest pain, heart rate is 185 per minute, BP is 78 over 40. How will you manage? Stable or unstable? Unstable. BP is less than 90. Heart rate is 185 and there is ongoing chest pain. So ischemic chest discomfort also is there. So unstable. Okay. So now in this ECG, yeah. So if you look at the entire ECG now, how am I going to diagnose this? Dar lagta hai. So immediately look at the long lead 2. So what is the long lead 2 showing you? Is it narrow or broad? Broad. The visual impression is broad. So this is a broad QRS complex. Are there P waves? No P waves. What is the rate? You can see that the rate is less than 2 squares, 2 big squares. So 300 upon 2, it is even less than 2. So heart rate is between 150 and 200, maybe around 175 or so. So you've got a broad complex tachycardia with a low blood pressure, yeah, and which is regular. So What is it? What is the rhythm? क्या हो गया? Broad complex. So ventricular or atrial? Ventricular. Regular. So ventricular tachycardia. Or are all the complexes looking the same? So monomorphic. So this is a monomorphic ventricular tachycardia and patient is unstable. So what is the treatment? क्या हो गया? Unstable patient को क्या करना है? Shock. So treatment is synchronized cardioversion. Okay. So now a little bit about synchronized cardioversion. Listen to this carefully. I am going to ask you all to do it when we go to the scenario. So it is similar to defibrillation except the electrical energy is synchronized to deliver during ventricular depolarization. So what the machine does, the defibrillator, it identifies the QRS complexes. It identifies the T waves. So it makes sure that the shock falls on the QRS complex. Because if it falls after the QRS complex, the rhythm may degenerate into ventricular fibrillation. That's called a synchronized cardioversion. So the machine does it. And when you push the synchronized button on the defibrillator, then you'll see those synchronization lines on the monitor, on the defibrillator. So we'll see it when we go there. So it avoids delivering shock during the relative refractory period. That means on the T wave or just before that. And it is used only for unstable patients. So you can't use it for stable patients. You can't use it in cardiac arrest. In cardiac arrest, the machine may not be able to discover which is the QRS complex, which is the T wave. So it's used only in ventricular tachycardia with a pulse. So steps for cardioversion: turn on the monitor defibrillator, confirm the rhythm, select the appropriate energy. You can see this. So for a VT with pulse, which is our case, it's 100 joules. So 100 joules you can give. Everybody is almost 100 joules. So 100 joules is a safe energy to take. Then place the defibrillator pads on the paddles. Is that enough? Patient is conscious. Then what will you do? You have to give some form of sedation. BP is only 80. So you want to start a running drip. You may want to start noradrenaline. Yeah, as a precaution. Yeah. Once you've done that, you've got a secure IV access. You've got fluid going on slowly, not fast, because you may go into failure. And you've got a NORAD. So all these are safety measures for you. And you're going to give some midazolam, fentanyl. So as sister, when a person says, sister, I want to do synchronized cardioversion. So crash cart आ गया, midazolam आ गया, fentanyl आ गया, IV access आ गया, fluid आ गया, NORAD drip आ गया. So all this background you have to get ready. Doctors don't know anything. Especially the junior doctors, when they come, they don't know anything. So the nurse is going to be the person who's going to teach them. Is that okay? Senior nurse, not the junior nurse. Senior nurses know everything. So Jagdai's sister is there, Ashwini's sister is here. Then some of the nurses from the EMD. All these people, you should act as mentors. Okay, then follow the safety norms, ensure standard leads are connected, set the sync button on, give sedation, and sync. So what happens is, you press the button. First time I saw shock you need to deliver, then you keep it pressed. So after you press the sync button, after you press the button for cardioversion, only when it syncs will the shock be delivered. So it may take a few seconds. So don't be in a hurry. Don't think machine kharab ho gaya. Okay, so this is a summary of that now. So you can see we started with a heart rate of more than 150. We looked at identifying, treating underlying causes. You got an IV access. You checked if the patient airway was patent, gave oxygen. Then you had hypotension here and ischemic chest discomfort. So you decided you have to give synchronized cardioversion. So consider sedation, but it's not narrow complex. So you have to give synchronized cardioversion directly. Okay, case 4. 35-year-old, chronic liver disease, portal hypertension, ascites, sudden episode of fainting at home. Pulses rapid, thready, BP is not recordable, altered sensorium, ECG is done. So, stable, unstable? Unstable, near cardiac arrest. This fellow is near cardiac arrest. Okay, and chronic liver disease, portal hypertension means he is on diuretics. Okay, diuretics will cause electrolyte imbalance, hypomagnesemia, hypokalemia. So you're already thinking, दिमाग में चक्कर चल रहे हैं, you're making the diagnosis as you're looking at this. But since he is unstable, you're going to think of cardioversion. So you have to get ready everything, like the previous case. Crash cart आ गया, IV आ गया, NORAD लगा तो NORAD तैयार रखा, adrenaline तैयार रखा, midaz, fentanyl if required, if the patient is still completely awake. So you may still need to give, even though he's got an altered sensorium. So these are the things. Give oxygen. What's the rhythm? It's called torsade. So it's a polymorphic ventricular tachycardia. You can see that there are very sharp and broad QRS complexes. You can't see any T waves. Now these are pointing downwards. These are pointing upwards. These are pointing downwards. These are pointing upwards, downwards. So what is happening is, someone has taken the line, the baseline, and twisted it. म्हणून काही खाली आहेत, काही वर आहेत. So this is typical of torsade. So it's a polymorphic ventricular tachycardia. The treatment for a polymorphic ventricular tachycardia, now this is the exception. So this is not cardiac arrest as yet. So you want to synchronize it. Yeah, if it had been typical cardiac arrest, you would have given an unsynchronized cardioversion. Here, you will give a synchronized cardioversion. Magnesium, I said magnesium is going to be less, but magnesium is the second step. Give synchronized cardioversion, keep your magnesium ready. If he goes into cardiac arrest, unsynchronized cardioversion. Okay, so you give the shock. After you give the shock, this is the ECG. Now in this ECG, what I want to see is the QT interval. So if you see on top, I've got the QT interval here. It says QTC is 477. So anything more than 450 is a prolonged QT interval. Prolonged QT interval is a diagnosis of hypomagnesemia. So you have to give magnesium now to prevent the rhythm from going back to torsade. Okay, so if a long QT interval is observed, stop the medications known to prolong the QT interval, correct electrolyte imbalance, look for the other acute precipitants like drug overdose. Drug overdose, antidepressants. Commonly used antidepressant is amitriptyline. It causes a broad QRS and it can cause QT prolongation. Then magnesium is associated, like I told you here, diuretics were on, so hypomagnesemia is possible. Treatment is what we described, synchronized cardioversion, then magnesium. Sometimes isoproterenol or ventricular pacing may be effective, but that is cardiologist ko phone karne ka. Call a friend. So in the absence of a prolonged QT interval, the most common cause of a polymorphic VT is myocardial ischemia. Then you have to check the TROP-T, call the cardiologist, think of doing an angio, like that. Other causes of polymorphic VT, if there is an excess of catecholamines. So you've got dopamine going on, you're giving very high doses, then you can get a torsade. Then Brugada syndrome, call the cardiologist. Okay, so to summarize, airway, breathing, circulation, oxygen IV monitor, extremely important. Is the patient stable or unstable? If he is unstable, treatment is cardioversion, except in atrial fibrillation. In atrial fibrillation, the clot may go up. So all unstable patients except atrial fibrillation, you have to cardiovert. Stable patient, you have time, record a 12-lead ECG, IV axis, oxygen, monitor, think of reversible causes. If it is narrow complex clearly, vagal maneuver followed by adenosine. If it is broad complex, you can give adenosine if the patient is stable. It will help differentiate supraventricular tachycardia with aberrant conduction from ventricular tachycardia. If it does not revert, then you have to think of amiodarone. If it is irregular, then give heparin, follow heparin up with either digoxin or diltiazem. Looking at the patient is very important. Okay, so that's the end of the class. Please remember that this was a quick class. Usually I do a lot more interaction with this, but now here what has happened is that since we have to record it, I told you the answers. Okay, Asif, we can stop.